Alina Carter stared at her phone screen, her thumb hovering over the send button. The Christmas lights from her tiny apartment window cast colorful shadows across her face as she reread the message for the 10th time. This was it. After 3 months of subtle flirting with her coworker, James Whittaker, she was finally going to make her move. This Christmas? "You're on my wish list," she whispered to herself, testing how the words sounded. Her best friend Rachel had helped her craft the perfect message. Something bold yet playful. Alina took a deep breath and hit send before she could change her mind. The message delivered with a satisfying swoosh. Alina set her phone face down on her coffee table and grabbed the mug of hot chocolate she'd been nursing. Her small studio apartment was decorated with modest Christmas decorations, a tiny tree in the corner adorned with handmade ornaments, and string lights that she'd found on sale last year. Working as a bookstore manager didn't pay much, but Alina had made her space cozy and warm. Her phone buzzed almost immediately. Alina's heart jumped as she reached for it, expecting a flirty response from James. Instead, she saw a reply from a number she didn't recognize. Interesting. I don't usually make wish lists, but I'm intrigued. Who is this? Alina's stomach dropped. She frantically scrolled up to check the contact name she'd messaged. Her face went pale. Instead of James Whittaker, the message had gone to Derek Morrison. She must have clicked the wrong contact when she was rushing. Derek Morrison. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but Alina couldn't place it. She'd probably saved his number from some work-related thing months ago and forgotten about it. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. I'm so sorry. That message was meant for someone else. Please just delete it and forget it happened. The 3 dots indicating he was typing appeared almost instantly. Too late. You've piqued my curiosity. Tell me, mysterious wish list maker, what makes someone deserve to be on your Christmas list? Alina groaned, burying her face in her hands. This was mortifying. She should just block the number and pretend this never happened. But something about his response made her smile despite her embarrassment. He seemed amused rather than annoyed. Look, I'm really embarrassed. Can we just pretend this never happened? Where's the fun in that? Besides, it's almost Christmas. Shouldn't we embrace a little holiday magic, even if it comes from a wrong number? Alina found herself laughing. Whoever this Derek Morrison was, he had a point. And there was something charming about his persistence. Fine, I'm Alina, and you are Derek, and since you put me on your wish list, I think it's only fair I know more about you. Coffee tomorrow? Alina's fingers froze over the keyboard. Was this stranger seriously asking her out based on an accidentally sent text message? This was crazy. She should absolutely say no. I don't meet strangers from wrong numbers, she typed back. Technically, you already have my number saved, so we're not complete strangers. Plus, it's a public coffee shop. It's very safe. Consider it my Christmas present to you, since I'm apparently on your wish list. Alina bit her lip, weighing her options. Rachel would tell her she was insane for even considering it. But something about this whole situation felt like fate. What were the odds of accidentally texting someone right before Christmas? Okay, but if you turn out to be creepy, I'm leaving immediately. Fair enough. Rosewood Cafe? Tomorrow at 2? I promise I'm only slightly creepy. Lena smiled at her phone, shaking her head at her own boldness. She had no idea what she was getting herself into. The next afternoon, Lena arrived at Rosewood Cafe 15 minutes early, her nerves getting the better of her. She'd changed outfits 3 times before settling on a forest green sweater dress and brown boots. Her dark hair fell in loose waves past her shoulders. And she'd applied just enough makeup to look. It's put together without seeming like she'd tried too hard. The cafe was decorated beautifully for Christmas. With garlands draped across the windows and a massive tree in the corner, Alina ordered a peppermint mocha and found a table by the window, where she could watch for her mysterious date. At exactly 2 o'clock. The cafe door opened, and Elena's breath caught in her throat. The man who walked in was nothing like she'd imagined. He was tall, probably 6'3", with dark hair that was perfectly styled, yet somehow looked effortlessly tousled. He wore an expensive-looking charcoal coat over a black sweater and dark jeans, but it was his face, that made Elena's heart skip. Strong jawline, striking blue eyes that seemed to take in everything at once, and a confident smile that suggested he was used to getting what he wanted. Their eyes met across the cafe, and recognition flashed in his expression. He walked toward her with the kind of easy confidence that came from someone who'd never doubted himself. "Elena?" he asked, his voice smooth and deep. She nodded, suddenly unable to form words. This was Derek Morrison? The man she'd accidentally texted looked like he'd stepped out of a magazine. "Mind if I sit?" he asked, gesturing to the chair across from her.
"Please?"
Elena managed, finding her voice. Derek removed his coat, revealing broad shoulders that the sweater did nothing to hide. He ordered a black coffee from the server and turned his full attention to Elena. His gaze was intense, but not uncomfortable, like he was genuinely interested in her. "So," he said, leaning back in his chair with an amused smile, "tell me about the lucky guy who was supposed to receive that message." Lena felt her cheeks warm. "Do we have to talk about that?" "Absolutely. It's the reason we're here." "Fine, his name is James. We work together at Hartley Books. I've been trying to get the courage to tell him I'm interested for months. And a text message was your grand plan?" Derek raised an eyebrow, but his tone was teasing rather than judgmental. "It seemed like a good idea at the time," Elena defended, unable to suppress a smile. "My friend Rachel convinced me it was romantic." "It is romantic," Derek agreed. "Just ended up going to the wrong romantic interest." Elena laughed, the tension in her shoulders easing. "You're not exactly what I expected when I agreed to meet you." "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Someone less attractive. Someone who didn't look like they walked off a movie set." Derek's smile widened, and Elena realized what she'd just said. Her face flamed red. "I mean, you're obviously very attractive, but I didn't mean to say that out loud," she stammered. "Don't apologize. I think you're beautiful too," Derek said simply, his blue eyes holding hers. The directness of his statement left Elena momentarily speechless. Men didn't usually talk to her like this, with such straightforward honesty. She was used to awkward small talk and tentative compliments. "So what do you do, Derek?" she asked, trying to steer the conversation to safer ground. "I'm in hospitality," he said vaguely. "Hotels, mostly." "What about you? You said you work at a bookstore?" "I manage Hartley Books downtown. It's a small independent shop. Nothing fancy, but I love it." "I've always loved books." Derek leaned forward, genuinely interested. "What kind of books?" For the next hour, they talked. Elena told him about her favorite novels, about the regular customers who came in every week, about the author event she was planning for January. Derek shared stories about his travels, places he'd been, and hotels he'd stayed in. He was careful not to mention anything too specific about his work, and Elena didn't push. What struck Elena most was how easy it was to talk to him. Despite his obvious wealth and good looks, Derek didn't make her feel inferior. He listened when she spoke, asked thoughtful questions, and laughed at her jokes. By the time they finished their second round of coffee, Elena had almost forgotten this had started as an accidental text. "I should probably go," Elena said reluctantly, noticing it was getting dark outside. "I have inventory to finish at the shop tomorrow morning. Can I see you again?" Derek asked as he helped her into her coat. Elena hesitated. This had been wonderful, but she still knew almost nothing about this man. "I don't know if that's a good idea." "Why not?" "Because this is crazy. We met because of a wrong number. You could be anyone." Derek pulled out his phone and handed it to her. "Google me." Elena took the phone hesitantly and typed his name into the search bar. Her eyes widened as the results loaded. Derek Morrison, CEO of Morrison Hotels, one of the largest luxury hotel chains in the country. Net worth estimated at over $2 billion. Recent photos of him at charity galas, business conferences, always in expensive suits with beautiful women on his arm. She handed the phone back, her expression unreadable. "You're a billionaire. Does that change things?" Derek asked carefully. Should Elena said honestly. "We're from completely different worlds." "Or maybe we're from the same world, just different tax brackets," Derek countered. "Give me a chance to prove this isn't about money or status. One more date. If you still think we're too different, I'll respect that." Elena studied his face. looking for any sign of insincerity. All she saw was genuine interest and hope. One more date, she agreed, but somewhere normal. No fancy restaurants or private jets. Derek's smile was radiant. Deal, how about ice skating? There's a public rink downtown. Ice skating sounds perfect. As Derek walked her to her car, Alina couldn't shake the feeling that her life had just taken an unexpected turn. She'd sent a flirty message to the wrong person. Somehow ended up having coffee with a billionaire who made her laugh and didn't make her feel small. It was the kind of thing that only happened in movies or romance novels, but as Derek kissed her hand goodbye and promised to text her about the skating date, Alina allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, this Christmas was going to be more magical than she'd ever imagined. She drove home with a smile on her face, completely unaware that Derek Morrison stood in the parking lot long after her car disappeared, already planning how to make their next date unforgettable. For the first time in years, the billionaire hotel mogul had found something money couldn't buy. Genuine connection with someone who didn't know or care about his wealth. And it had all. Started with a message meant for someone else. The ice skating rink was decorated with thousands of twinkling lights that reflected off the ice like stars. Alina stood at the edge, lacing up her rental skates, while Derek finished tying his own. She couldn't help but notice how different he looked tonight in jeans and a simple navy sweater, a knit scarf wrapped around his neck. He looked almost normal, if you ignored the expensive watch on his wrist and the way people seemed to recognize him as they passed. Fair warning, Alina said, as she stood up shakily. I haven't skated since I was 12, and I wasn't good at it then. Derek grinned, standing with the easy grace of someone who was naturally athletic. Good thing I'm an excellent teacher. He offered his hand, and Alina took it, letting him guide her onto the ice. Her ankles wobbled immediately, but Derek's grip was steady and strong. They started slowly, moving along the edge of the rink, while Christmas music played through the speakers overhead. See? You're doing great, Derek encouraged as Alina managed a few strokes without falling. I'm clinging to you for dear life. That's not the same as doing great, Alina laughed. I don't mind being clung to, Derek said. Pulling her a little closer, they skated in comfortable silence for a while, falling into an easy rhythm. Alina found herself relaxing, enjoying the cold air on her cheeks and the warmth of Derek's hand in hers. Around them, families and couples glided past, but Alina felt like they were in their own little bubble. Can I ask you something? Alina said after a while. Anything? Why are you really here? A man like you could be with anyone. Why waste time on someone you met through a wrong number? Derek slowed their pace, turning to face her. His blue eyes were serious. Because you're real, Alina. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Most people I meet either want something from me or they're intimidated by the money. But when you texted me, you had no idea who I was. And even after you found out, you still looked at me like I was just a regular guy. You are just a regular guy, Alina said softly. An absurdly wealthy regular guy, but still. Exactly, Derek smiled. That's why I'm here. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Before Alina could respond, a woman's voice cut through the moment like a knife. Derek Morrison. As I live and breathe, they both turned to see a stunning blonde woman gliding toward them on the ice. She wore a white fur coat over designer athletic wear, and her makeup was flawless despite the cold. Everything about her screamed money and privilege. Vanessa, Derek said, and Alina didn't miss the tension that entered his voice. What are you doing here? Ice skating, obviously, Vanessa said, her eyes sliding to Alina with barely concealed disdain. Aren't you going to introduce me to your friend? Alina, this is Vanessa Hartley. Vanessa, this is Alina Carter, Derek said stiffly. Vanessa's smile was all teeth and no warmth. How lovely. Tell me, Alina, how did you meet Derek? Through business? Actually, we met through a text message, Alina said, lifting her chin despite feeling completely out of her depth next to this glamorous woman. How modern, Vanessa said, but her tone suggested she found it anything but charming. She turned her attention back to Derek. Daddy's having his Christmas gala next week. He's expecting you, of course. I assume you'll bring someone appropriate. The emphasis on appropriate wasn't lost on Alina. She felt Derek's hand tighten on hers.
What?
My plans are my own business, Vanessa, Derek said coolly. Of course, Vanessa smiled sweetly. Well, I'll let you two get back to your charming little date. It was nice meeting you, Emma. Alina, she corrected, but Vanessa was already skating away. The magic of the evening had evaporated. Alina pulled her hand from Derek's and skated toward the exit. Alina, wait, Derek called, catching up to her easily. I need to get off the ice, Alina said, her voice tight. They made it to the benches, and Alina started unlacing her skates with shaking fingers. Derek sat beside her, his expression troubled. I'm sorry about Vanessa. She's my ex-girlfriend, and she doesn't handle rejection well. She's beautiful, Alina said quietly. Hey. She's also manipulative and cruel, Derek countered. Why do you think she's my ex? Alina finished removing her skates and looked at him. Derek, she's right. We're from different worlds. You belong at galas and charity events with women who wear fur coats and know which fork to use at fancy dinners. I manage a bookstore and shop at thrift stores. None of that matters to me, Derek insisted. But it matters to everyone else in your life, Alina said. I saw the way she looked at me. Like I was nobody. And honestly, in your world, I am nobody. Don't say that. Derek's voice was almost angry. You're not nobody. You're smart and kind and genuine. You make me laugh. You make me want to be better. For how long? Alina asked, her eyes filling with tears. Until the novelty wears off? Until your friends and family make you realize you could do so much better? Derek took her hands, forcing her to look at him. Listen to me. I know this is fast. I know we barely know each other. But I haven't felt this way about anyone in years, maybe ever. Don't let Vanessa's poison ruin what we could have. Lena wanted to believe him. Every fiber of her being wanted to throw caution to the wind and trust that this could work. But the fear was overwhelming. I need time to think, she said finally. Derek's face fell, but he nodded. Okay. Take all the time you need. But Alina, I'm not giving up on us. Not yet. The next few days were torture for Alina. She threw herself into work, organizing the holiday book displays and helping customers find perfect gifts. But her mind kept drifting back to Derek, to the way he'd held her hand while skating, to the hurt in his eyes when she'd pulled away. Rachel found her restocking shelves on Christmas Eve morning, clearly lost in thought. Okay, that's it, Rachel declared, pulling a book out of Elena's hands. You've been moping for 3 days? Either call him or get over him. But stop torturing yourself. It's not that simple, Alina protested. Yes, it is. You like him. He likes you. Everything else is just noise. Easy for you to say. You didn't see his ex-girlfriend. She looked like a supermodel, and she made it very clear that I don't belong in his world. Rachel rolled her eyes. Who cares what she thinks? The question is, do you want to be with him? Of course I do, Alina admitted. But wanting something and it being realistic are two different things. Life is short, Alina. Take the risk. Before Alina could respond, the bell above the shop door chimed. Both women turned to see Derek walking in, looking slightly nervous. He wore a dark coat and carried a large shopping bag. Hi, he said, his eyes finding Alina's immediately. Hi, she breathed. Rachel looked between them and grinned. I'm going to go reorganize the back room. Very thoroughly. For at least 30 minutes, she disappeared before Alina could protest. Derek approached slowly, like he was afraid she might bolt. I know you said you needed time, but it's Christmas Eve, and I couldn't stand the thought of not seeing you. Derek, Alina started, but he held up a hand. Please, let me say this. I've spent the last 3 days thinking about what you said, about us being from different worlds. And you're right, in a way. We do come from different circumstances. But that doesn't mean we can't build our own world together. He set the shopping bag on the counter and pulled out a beautifully wrapped package. I got you something. Before you protest, it's not expensive. I promise. Alina took the package with trembling hands and carefully unwrapped it. Inside was a leather-bound journal with her initials embossed on the cover. Tucked inside the first page was a handwritten note. Read it, Derek urged softly. Alina unfolded the note, her eyes scanning Derek's neat handwriting. Alina. This journal is for all the stories we're going to write together. Some will be good, some will be challenging, but they'll all be ours. I can't promise that my world won't sometimes be difficult to navigate, but I can promise that I'll be beside you every step of the way. You're not alone in this. Love, Derek. Tears spilled down Elena's cheeks. You wrote love? I did, Derek confirmed, stepping closer. Because I'm falling in love with you, Elena Carter. I know it's fast, and I know it's complicated, but it's true. And I'll wait as long as you need me to. But I need you to know that I'm all in. Lena looked at the journal in her hands, at the man standing before her with his heart laid bare, and made her decision. She closed the distance between them and kissed him. Derek's arms came around her immediately, pulling her close as he deepened the kiss. It was different from their first kiss, more desperate, more certain. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. I'm falling in love with you too, Alina whispered, and it terrifies me. Good. Derek smiled against her lips. The best things always do. Come with me to the gala. Meet my world, and let me show you that you belong wherever you want to be. Alina took a deep breath and nodded. Okay, but if your family hates me, I'm blaming you. Hey. Derek laughed, the sound full of relief and joy. Deal. The Morrison family Christmas gala was exactly as intimidating as Alina had feared. The ballroom of the Grand Morrison Hotel was decorated like something out of a fairy tale. With 20-foot Christmas trees draped in gold and silver, crystal chandeliers that sparkled like ice, and a live orchestra playing classical arrangements of holiday songs. Everyone wore designer gowns and tuxedos, dripping in jewelry that probably cost more than Alina. Made in a year. Alina smoothed down the emerald green gown Derek had sent to her apartment. He'd included a note saying it was on loan from a designer friend, and that she could absolutely say no. But he thought the color would bring out her eyes. He'd been right. The dress fit perfectly, hugging her curves before flowing to the floor in elegant waves. Rachel had helped with her hair and makeup, creating soft curls and a classic red lip. Still, Alina felt like an imposter as Derek led her through the crowd, his hand warm and steady on her lower back. You're doing great, he murmured in her ear. I haven't said anything yet, Alina whispered back. Exactly. Very mysterious and intriguing. Despite her nerves, Alina smiled. Derek had a way of making her feel like everything would be okay. Derek, darling. An elegant older woman approached them, her silver hair styled perfectly. I've been looking for you everywhere, Mother Derek said, and Alina felt him tense slightly. I'd like you to meet Alina Carter. Alina, this is my mother, Patricia Morrison. Patricia's sharp blue eyes assessed Alina from head to toe. Charmed. You're the bookstore manager Derek has been spending so much time with. Yes, ma'am, Alina said, lifting her chin. It's wonderful to meet you. Was all Patricia said before turning back to her son. Your father wants to speak with you about the Tokyo expansion. Don't disappear. As Patricia walked away, Alina let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Well, that went well. She warm up to you, Derek said, though he didn't sound entirely convinced. The evening continued in a blur of introductions. Derek's father, Richard Morrison, was polite but distant. His younger sister, Caroline, was sweet and genuinely interested in Elena's work at the bookstore. But everywhere Alina looked, she saw curious glances and whispered conversations. She knew what they were thinking. What is Derek Morrison doing with her? The breaking point came when Alina excused herself to use the restroom. She was washing her hands when Vanessa walked in, looking stunning in a red gown that probably cost more than Elena's car. Elena, isn't it? Vanessa said, reapplying her lipstick in the mirror. Having fun playing Cinderella? I'm having a lovely evening, thank you, Alina said evenly. Enjoy it while it lasts, Vanessa said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Derek has a pattern, you know. He gets bored with his little projects. Last year, it was a yoga instructor. Before that, a graduate student. He likes to play savior, makes him feel good about himself. But he always comes back to his own kind eventually. The words hit Alina like physical blows. Every insecurity she'd been trying to suppress came roaring back. Why are you telling me this? Alina managed. "'Cause I'm trying to save you from humiliation," Vanessa said, turning to face her fully. "Derek and I are inevitable. Our families have been friends for generations. We understand each other's world. Whatever he's told you, whatever promises he's made, they won't last. Men like Derek don't end up with girls like you. They marry women like me." Vanessa left, leaving Alina staring at her own reflection in the mirror. The beautiful dress suddenly felt like a costume. She didn't belong here, and maybe she never would. Alina found Derek talking with a group of businessmen. She touched his arm gently. "I need to leave." Derek immediately turned his full attention to her, noticing the distress in her eyes. "What happened?" "I just need to go. Please." Without hesitation, Derek excused himself and led Alina out of the ballroom. They didn't stop until they reached a private terrace overlooking the city. The cold December air was a shock after the warmth of the party. "Talk to me," Derek said gently. "Vanessa told me about your pattern," Alina said, hugging herself against the cold. "The yoga instructor, the graduate student. All the women you save before getting bored and moving on?" Derek's jaw tightened. "That's not true, isn't it? You're a billionaire, Derek. You could have anyone. Why would you really want to be with someone like me long term?" "Because you're you," Derek said, his voice rising with frustration. "Why can't you see that?" "Because I'm terrified," Alina shouted back, tears streaming down her face. "I'm terrified that I'm going to fall completely in love with you. And then one day you're going to wake up and realize that Vanessa was right. That I don't fit in your world, that I never will, and that you made a mistake. The only mistake would be letting you walk away because you're too scared to take a chance on us," Derek said, his own eyes bright with emotion. "Maybe being scared is smart," Alina said quietly. "Maybe I should walk away before I get hurt worse." "Is that really what you want?" Alina looked at him, at this man who had shown her nothing but kindness and honesty, who had opened up his world to her despite knowing it might overwhelm her. She thought about the journal he'd given her, about all the blank pages waiting for their story. "No," she whispered, "but I don't know if wanting something is enough." "Then let me prove it to you," Derek said, taking her hands. "Give me until New Year's. If by then you still don't believe we can make this work, I'll let you go. But please, Alina, give us a real chance." Alina searched his face, looking for any sign of doubt. All she saw was determination and something that looked a lot like love. 1 week, she agreed. What Alina didn't know was that Derek had already made his decision. That night, after taking her home, he sat down at his computer and began writing an email that would change everything. The week between Christmas and New Year's was different. Derek took Alina to places that mattered to him. Not fancy restaurants or exclusive clubs, but real places. His favorite coffee shop where he'd spent hours as a college student. The park where his sister Caroline had taught him to ride a bike. The library where he'd fallen in love with architecture books as a child. In turn, Alina showed him her world. The tiny bookshop that was her sanctuary, introducing him to her favorite regulars. The soup kitchen, where she volunteered every Saturday. Her cramped but cozy apartment, filled with books and handmade decorations. They talked for hours about everything and nothing. Derek told her about the pressure of living up to his family's expectations, about how lonely it was at the top. Alina shared her fears about never being good enough, about her parents' messy divorce and how it had made her scared to trust with each passing day. The walls between them crumbled a little more. On New Year's Eve, Derek picked Alina up at 7 o'clock. "Dress warm," was all he would tell her. He drove them out of the city to a small clearing in the woods. There, he'd set up a private area with outdoor heaters, blankets, and a telescope. "What is all this?" Alina breathed. "You mentioned once that you loved stargazing as a kid," Derek said, helping her out of the car. "I thought we could watch the stars together and wait for midnight." Alina felt tears prick her eyes. No one had ever done something so thoughtful for her. They spent hours lying on blankets under the stars, pointing out constellations and making up stories about them. As midnight approached, Derek sat up and took Alina's hands. "Before the new year starts, I need to tell you something," he said. "I've made some decisions this week." Alina's heart started to pound. "What kind of decisions?" "I've stepped back from day-to-day operations of Morrison Hotels. My father wasn't happy, but I hired an excellent CEO to take over most of my responsibilities. I'm keeping my position on the board, but I'm going to be working remotely most of the time, focusing on the projects I actually care about.
Oh, Derek.
You can't do that for me, Alina protested. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for us, for myself. I've been so consumed by work and expectations that I forgot what it felt like to actually live. You reminded me, Alina. You showed me that there's more to life than board meetings and quarterly reports. What will you do? Alina asked softly. I want to start a foundation, something focused on literacy and supporting independent bookstores. I want to build things that matter, not just accumulate wealth. And I want to do it with you if you'll have me. Alina's voice broke. I love you, Alina Carter, Derek said, his blue eyes shining with emotion in the moonlight. Not because you need saving or because you're a project. I love you because you're brave and kind and you see the best in people. I love you because you make me want to be better. I love you because when I'm with you, I feel like I'm finally home. The countdown to midnight started in the distance, people in the city celebrating the new year. But Alina only had eyes for the man in front of her. I love you too, she whispered. I'm still scared, but I love you. And I want to try. I want to believe we can make this work. We can, Derek promised. We will. As the fireworks exploded in the distant sky, marking the start of a new year, Derek kissed Alina. It was a kiss full of promise and hope, of new beginnings and second chances. When they finally pulled apart, Derek reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Alina's breath caught. I'm not proposing, Derek said quickly, seeing her panic. Not yet. But I want you to have this. Inside the box was a delicate silver bracelet with a single charm, a tiny book with chapter 1 engraved on it. For our first chapter, Derek explained, fastening it around her wrist. There will be many more to come. Alina threw her arms around him, holding tight as happy tears streamed down her face. Happy New Year, Derek. Happy New Year, Alina. The first of many we'll spend together. 3 months later, Alina stood in her brand new bookshop, the one Derek had helped her lease and renovate. It was bigger than Hartley Books, with floor-toozling windows and cozy reading nooks. The grand opening had been a huge success. With the whole community turning out to support her, Derek wrapped his arms around her waist from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. Happy? Incredibly, Alina sighed contentedly. Good, because I have something else for you. He turned her around and pulled out another velvet box. But this one was different. Smaller. Alina's heart started to race. I said I wasn't proposing that night on New Year's, Derek said, dropping to one knee. But I never said I wouldn't propose ever. Alina Carter, you changed my life with one mistaken text message. You taught me what really matters, what love is supposed to feel like. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life writing our story with you? Through happy tears, Alina nodded. Yes, absolutely yes. Derek slipped the ring onto her finger, a beautiful emerald surrounded by diamonds, and kissed her as the bookshop customers who had stuck around erupted in applause as Alina looked at the ring on her finger and the man she loved. She thought about that Christmas night when she'd sent a message to the wrong number. It had seemed like a disaster at the time, but it had led her here to this perfect moment, to a love she never could have imagined. Sometimes the best things in life come from the mistakes we make, from the wrong turns that lead us exactly where we're meant to be. And as Derek pulled her close, promising her forever with his eyes, Alina knew that their story was just beginning. The message had been wrong, but the love was absolutely right. Thank you for taking Thed time to listen to this story. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit like, share this story with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more meaningful stories. Olivia Carter checked her reflection one last time in the lobby mirror of Sterling Tower, smoothing down her navy blazer. At 26, she had spent 3 years building a modest reputation as a freelance fashion consultant for small businesses. But today could change everything. The email had been vague, mentioning only that Sterling Enterprises was looking for someone with a keen eye for professional styling. The building itself was intimidating. all glass and steel rising 40 stories into the Chicago skyline. Olivia's heels clicked against the marble floor as she approached the reception desk. Her portfolio tucked under one arm. "Olivia Carter for the 10 o'clock appointment," she said to the receptionist. "A polished woman with silver hair, 38th floor. Someone will meet you at the elevator." The woman's smile was professional but warm. As the elevator climbed, Olivia's stomach fluttered with nervous energy. She had researched Sterling Enterprises thoroughly. Julian Hartwell had taken over his father's struggling real estate company at 28 and transformed it into a billion-dollar empire spanning luxury hotels, commercial properties, and fashion retail. He was known for two things: his brilliant business mind and his reputation for being impossibly demanding. The elevator doors opened to reveal a sleek reception area decorated in shades of charcoal and cream. A young man in an impeccable suit immediately approached her. "Miss Carter." "I'm Owen, Mr. Hartwell's executive assistant. Please follow me." Owen led her through a corridor lined with abstract art and into a spacious corner office with floor-to ceiling windows, overlooking Lake Michigan. The view was breathtaking, but Olivia's attention was immediately captured by the man standing at the window. Julian Hartwell was taller than she expected, easily over 6 feet, with dark hair styled perfectly away from his face. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, but something about it seemed slightly off. When he turned to face her, Olivia was struck by his eyes, a striking shade of green that seemed to assess everything in an instant. "Miss Carter." His voice was deep and measured. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Hartwell. It's an honor to meet you." Olivia extended her hand, which he shook firmly. "Please, sit." He gestured to a leather chair across from his desk. "I assume you're wondering why you're here?" "The email mentioned a styling position," Olivia said carefully, settling into the chair. "Not exactly." Julian leaned against his desk, arms crossed. "I need someone who can be completely honest with me about something most people won't address." "My appearance?" Olivia blinked in surprise. Julian Hartwell was objectively handsome and always appeared immaculate in press photos.
I don't understand.
"You always look very professional." "Professional, yes. But I'm expanding into fashion retail, competing directly with brands that have spent decades building their image. I need to embody that world, not just fund it." He gestured to himself. "I need someone who can transform me from a real estate developer into a fashion industry leader." Before Olivia could respond, Julian moved to adjust his tie, and she noticed what had been bothering her. The Windsor knot was slightly asymmetrical, pulling the collar unevenly. "May I?" Olivia stood without thinking, her professional instincts overriding her nerves. Julian looked surprised but nodded. Olivia approached him, very aware of how close she needed to stand. She could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle, with notes of cedar and bergamot. Her fingers worked quickly, loosening the tie. "The problem isn't the tie itself," she explained, focusing on her work rather than the intensity of his gaze. "It's how the collar is sitting. You need a different fold here." She adjusted the collar points, then began reknotting the tie with practiced efficiency. "Is this okay?" she asked, stepping back slightly to check her work. Julian examined himself in the reflection of the window, then looked back at her. "Not yet. It needs to be tighter." Olivia moved closer again, pulling the knot snug against his collar. Her fingers brushed against his neck for just a moment, and she felt him tense slightly. "Better?" she asked, her voice coming out softer than intended. "Perfect," Julian said. But he was looking at her, not his reflection. The moment stretched between them. Charged with something Olivia couldn't quite name. Then Julian cleared his throat and stepped back, breaking the spell. "You see? That's exactly what I need. Someone who notices the details and isn't afraid to fix them." He returned to his desk. "Everyone around me is too intimidated to tell me when something is wrong. With respect, Mr. Hartwell, that's probably because you have a reputation for being difficult to work with." Owen, who had been standing quietly by the door, made a small, choking sound. Julian's eyebrows rose, but there was amusement in his eyes. "You researched me, of course? It would be unprofessional not to." and you came anyway, knowing my reputation. I don't scare easily, Olivia said, meeting his gaze steadily. And from what I can see, you're not difficult. You just have high standards. There's a difference. Julian studied her for a long moment. I'm prepared to offer you a position as my personal image consultant. You would work directly with me to refine every aspect of my professional appearance. Wardrobe, grooming, body language, everything. The salary would be $200,000 a year, plus expenses and travel. Olivia felt her heart skip. That was more than 4 times what she made now. That's very generous, but what about the styling assistant position? There is no styling assistant position. I had Owen research fashion consultants in Chicago. Your name came up repeatedly. Small businesses you've worked with saw significant improvements in their professional image. I don't need an assistant. I need the best. I'm flattered, but I have to ask why you're not using one of the major fashion consulting firms. Because they would assign me someone who treats me like a portfolio piece. You would treat me like a client who needs real help. Julian leaned forward. I saw how you fixed my tie just now. You didn't ask permission first. You saw a problem and solved it. That's what I need. Olivia's mind raced. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. But something about working so closely with Julian Hartwell both excited and terrified her. Can I think about it? You can have until tomorrow morning. Julian pulled a card from his desk drawer and handed it to her. My personal number. Call me with your decision. As Owen escorted her back to the elevator, he spoke quietly. For what it's worth, I've never seen him ask anyone if they needed time to think. He usually expects immediate answers. Is that a good sign or a bad sign? Owen smiled. With Mr. Hartwell, it's impossible to tell. But he seemed different with you. Less guarded, maybe. In the elevator, Olivia studied Julian's card, running her thumb over the embossed lettering. She thought about his eyes, the way he had looked at her when she adjusted his tie. The undeniable pull she had felt standing so close to him. She knew she should be cautious. Julian Hartwell was not just a potential employer, he was a force of nature. Working with him would be intense, demanding, possibly dangerous to her carefully constructed professional boundaries. But as the elevator descended, Olivia realized she had already made her decision. Some opportunities were too significant to let fear stand in the way. She pulled out her phone and sent a text to the number on the card. I accept. When do I start? The response came before she even reached the lobby. Monday. 7 a.m. Don't be late. Olivia smiled despite herself. She had a feeling her life was about to change in ways she couldn't begin to imagine. And it all started with a tie that needed adjusting. Olivia's first official day at Sterling Enterprises began earlier than she anticipated. At 6:30 in the morning, her phone buzzed with a message from Julian. Change of plans. Meet me at Randolph Street Coffee in 15 minutes. Business casual. She arrived at the upscale cafe to find Julian already seated at a corner table, looking remarkably relaxed in dark jeans and a cashmere sweater. It was the first time she had seen him without a suit, and the casual look made him seem younger, more approachable. Good morning, he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. I ordered you a cappuccino. Owen mentioned you drink them, yet Owen researched my coffee preferences. Olivia sat down, amused. I research everything. Julian slid a thick binder across the table. This is my schedule for the next 3 months. Fashion industry events, investor meetings, board presentations, and the launch party for our new luxury retail division. Each one requires a different approach. Olivia flipped through the pages, impressed by the detail. This is incredibly organized. That's Owen's doing. My job is to execute. Your job is to make sure I look like I belong in every one of those rooms. A paused. Starting with today. We're going shopping. Shopping? My entire wardrobe needs to be evaluated and updated. I trust you to tell me what stays and what goes. The next 4 hours were a whirlwind tour of Chicago's most exclusive boutiques. Olivia discovered that Julian was surprisingly open to feedback, trying on everything she suggested without complaint. He had good instincts but lacked the refined eye for proportion and color. That elevated an outfit from merely expensive to truly exceptional. Try this, Olivia said, handing him a navy blazer with subtle texture. It's less formal than what you usually wear, but more sophisticated than standard business casual. Julian emerged from the dressing room, and Olivia felt her breath catch. The blazer fit him perfectly, emphasizing his broad shoulders and athletic build. Combined with the dark jeans and a crisp white shirt, he looked like he had stepped out of a fashion magazine. "Well?" he asked, studying himself in the mirror. "Perfect," Olivia said, then caught herself. "I mean, it fits your needs for the industry events. Polished, but approachable." Julian turned to look at her directly, one eyebrow raised. "You sure that's all you meant?" Olivia felt heat rise to her cheeks. Professionally speaking, yes. Something flickered in Julian's eyes, but he simply nodded and returned to the dressing room. As he tried on more outfits, Olivia found herself increasingly aware of the intimacy of the situation. She was essentially reshaping his public image. One piece of clothing at a time, and the trust required for that felt significant. Over the following weeks, they fell into a comfortable rhythm. Olivia arrived at his penthouse apartment each morning at 7 to help him prepare for the day. She learned his preferences, his habits, the way he unconsciously tugged at his collar when stressed. Julian, in turn, began asking her opinion on matters beyond fashion. Seeking her perspective on presentations and business strategies. "You have good instincts," he told her one morning, as she adjusted his pocket square before an important meeting. "Not just about clothes, about people." "I notice details," Olivia replied. "It's part of the job." "Is that all it is?" Julian asked quietly. "Just a job?" Before Olivia could respond, Owen knocked on the office door. "Mr. Hartwell, Miss Westbrook is here to see you." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Julian's expression hardened into something cold and distant. "Tell her I'm busy." "She's quite insistent." "She says it's personal." Julian sighed heavily. "Fine, give me 5 minutes." After Owen left, Julian turned to Olivia. "Caroline Westbrook is my ex-fiancée. We ended things 8 months ago. She's been trying to reconcile ever since." "Do you want to reconcile?" Olivia asked, trying to keep her voice neutral.
No.
The answer was immediate and firm. "But her father is a major investor in the retail expansion. I have to maintain civility." When Caroline entered the office minutes later, Olivia understood immediately why she made Julian uncomfortable. She was stunning, with platinum blonde hair and the kind of elegance that came from generations of wealth. Her eyes swept over Olivia with thinly veiled disdain. "Julian, darlin'," Caroline purred, kissing both his cheeks. "You look wonderful." "New stylist?" "Image consultant," Julian corrected. "Carolyn, this is Olivia Carter. How nice." Carolyn's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Julian, I came to remind you about the Children's Hospital Charity Gala this Saturday. We're expected to attend together." "I don't recall agreeing to that. Daddy's company is the primary sponsor." "It would look terrible if we didn't present a united front." Caroline placed a manicured hand on Julian's arm. "Besides, we always went together." "It's tradition." Olivia watched Julian's jaw tighten. "Carolyn, we've discussed this." I know. But can't we at least be friends?" "For appearances." Carolyn glanced at Olivia. "Unless your consultant has objections?" "Miss Carter's opinion on my personal life is not relevant," Julian said firmly. The words stung more than they should have. Olivia kept her expression carefully neutral. "I should go prepare your notes for the afternoon meeting." She left before Julian could respond, walking quickly to her small office down the hall. She had no right to feel hurt. Julian was her employer. Whatever she felt when she straightened his ties or stood too close, while adjusting his collar, was completely unprofessional. That evening, as she was packing up to leave, Julian appeared at her door. "About earlier," he began. "You don't need to explain." "Caroline is right. I'm just your consultant." "Is that really all you want to be?" Olivia looked up sharply. Julian stood in the doorway, his tie loosened and his expression more vulnerable than she had ever seen it. "What are you asking me?" "I'm asking if you feel what I feel every morning when you fix my tie. If you notice the way I find excuses to be near you. If you think about me the way I think about you." Her heart hammered in her chest. Julian, this is complicated. I work for you, then quit. What? Quit, right now. Then we won't have that complication anymore. Can't just quit. This job is everything I've worked toward. Julian crossed the room to stand in front of her desk. Then tell me you don't feel anything, and I'll never bring it up again. We'll be strictly professional. Olivia stood, meeting his gaze. I can't tell you that. Why not? Because it would be a lie. Julian moved around the desk, and suddenly they were standing inches apart, the air between them electric with tension. His hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing across her cheekbone. Come with me to the gala on Saturday, he said softly. As my date, not my consultant. What about Caroline? Let me worry about Carolyn. I'm asking you. Olivia knew she should say no. This was exactly the kind of complication she had built her career avoiding. But standing this close to Julian, feeling the warmth of his hand against her skin, she found herself nodding. Okay, yes. Julian smiled, genuinely smiled. And Olivia realized she would do almost anything to see that expression more often. Good now. About Saturday, you'll need something stunning to wear. I know a designer, Julian. I can find my own dress. No, you can. But let me do this, please. The vulnerability in his request melted her remaining resistance. Okay. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away. But Olivia found herself rising on her toes to meet him halfway. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, but when she responded, Julian pulled her closer, deepening it until Olivia forgot where they were entirely. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Julian rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that since the moment you fixed my tie in my office. Me too, Olivia admitted. This changes things, I know. Are you scared? Olivia considered the question honestly. Terrified. But I'm not running. Good, Julian said, kissing her once more. Because I have no intention of letting you go. As Olivia drove home that night, she knew her life had shifted irrevocably. She was falling for Julian Hartwell, and Saturday's gala would make their relationship public. There would be consequences, judgments, complications she couldn't even anticipate yet. But for the first time in her carefully planned career, Olivia decided some things were worth the risk. Some connections were worth fighting for. And Julian Hartwell, with his impossible standards and unexpected vulnerability, might just be worth everything. The dress Julian had arranged for her to wear to the gala was a masterpiece of midnight blue, silk that seemed to shift between navy and black depending on the light. When Olivia saw herself in the mirror Saturday evening, she barely recognized the confident, elegant woman staring back. Julian arrived to pick her up in a private car, and the look on his face when she opened the door made every moment of preparation worthwhile. You look breathtaking, he said, his voice rough with emotion. You clean up pretty well yourself, Olivia replied, taking in his perfectly tailored tuxedo. Without thinking, she reached up to adjust his bow tie, which was slightly crooked. Julian caught her hand, bringing it to his lips. What would I do without you? Probably walk around with crooked ties for the rest of your life. He laughed, the sound warm and genuine, so different from the controlled businessman she had first met. Probably. The Children's Hospital Charity Gala was held at the Four Seasons, and the ballroom glittered with Chicago's social elite. Olivia felt Julian's hand at the small of her back as they entered, a protective gesture that both thrilled and steadied her. Caroline found them within minutes, her expression icy despite her perfect smile. I see you brought your consultant after all. Her tone made the word sound like an insult. Olivia is here as my date, Julian said firmly. I thought I made that clear when I called your father earlier this week. Oh, Daddy mentioned something about that. We assumed you were just being difficult. Caroline's eyes swept over Olivia's dress. Though I must say, she cleans up nicely. Where did you find that dress? Rent the Runway. Actually, it's an original Valentino, Olivia said calmly. Julian has excellent taste. Aline's smile tightened. How nice that he's dressing you now. Like a doll? That's enough, Carolyn. Julian's voice was cold. If you can't be civil, stay away from us. You're making a mistake, Caroline hissed, dropping her false sweetness. You think you can just walk away from our family's arrangement? My father has invested millions in your retail expansion. One word from him, and your investors will scatter. Then I'll find new investors. You'll be ruined. I'd rather be ruined than spend another moment pretending we have a future together. Caroline's face flushed with anger and humiliation. You'll regret this, Julian. Both of you. She turned and walked away, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Olivia felt Julian's hand tighten on her waist. I'm sorry you had to hear that. Don't be. I knew what I was getting into. Olivia turned to face him fully. But Julian, is she right? Will her father really pull his investment? Probably. But I meant what I said. I'll find another way. He cupped her face gently. Some things are more important than business deals. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of introductions, dancing, and stolen moments when Julian would lean close to whisper something that made her laugh. Olivia had never felt more alive, more seen, than she did in his arms as they moved across the dance floor. But as midnight approached, Owen appeared at Julian's elbow, his expression troubled. Sir, we have a problem. Thomas Westbrook just announced to several board members that he's withdrawing his investment. He's claiming you breached your verbal agreement regarding his daughter. Julian's jaw tightened. When? Effective immediately. And he's suggesting to other investors that Sterling Enterprises is unstable leadership. Olivia felt her stomach drop. This was her fault. If she hadn't come tonight, if she hadn't gotten involved with Julian, none of this would be happening. Julian, maybe we should know. He cut her off gently, but firmly. Don't even finish that sentence. This isn't your fault, and I'm not backing down. But your company will survive. It always has. Julian took her hand. Come with me. I need to show you something. He led her out of the ballroom and up to the hotel's rooftop garden, which was closed for the evening but accessible with Julian's connections. The Chicago skyline sparkled around them, and the noise of the gala faded to a distant murmur. Do you know why I really hired you? Julian asked, standing at the railing overlooking the city. Because I fixed your tie? He smiled slightly. That was part of it. But the real reason was that, when you looked at me, you saw a person, not a portfolio. Not a business opportunity or a social connection. Just someone who needed help with his tie. Olivia moved to stand beside him. That's because that's all you were in that moment. A man with a crooked tie. Exactly. Julian turned to face her fully. Caroline and her father, they never saw me that way. I was always Julian Hartwell, CEO, an asset to be managed. But you see, Julian? Just Julian. And that's worth more than any investment. What are you saying? I'm saying that I'm falling in love with you, Olivia Carter. And I don't care if it costs me every investor I have. You're worth it. Tears pricked at Olivia's eyes. Julian, I'm falling in love with you too. But I don't want to be the reason your dreams fall apart. You're not. You're the reason I remember why I had those dreams in the first place. He pulled her close. I built Sterling Enterprises because I wanted to create something meaningful, not just profitable. Somewhere along the way, I forgot that. You reminded me. So what do we do now? Now. Julian smiled, that genuine smile she loved. Now we go back downstairs, and I make an announcement that's going to shock everyone in that ballroom. 20 minutes later, Olivia stood at Julian's side as he took the microphone during the charity auction. Her heart pounded as all eyes turned toward them. Good evening, everyone. I apologize for the interruption, but I have an important announcement. Julian's voice was steady and confident. As many of you know, Thomas Westbrook has decided to withdraw his investment from Sterling Enterprises. He believes I've made poor decisions regarding my personal life. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Olivia saw Carolyn standing near the bar, her expression triumphant. What Thomas and others may not understand is that the best decision I've made in years is standing right here beside me. Julian looked at Olivia, and the love in his eyes made her breath catch. Olivia Carter reminds me every day that success isn't measured only in profit margins. It's measured in integrity, authenticity, and having the courage to choose what truly matters. He turned back to the crowd. So yes, I'm choosing her. And if that costs me investors who only valued me as a business asset rather than a person, then those aren't investors I want anyway. Sterling Enterprises will thrive because we're building something real, something meaningful, and we're doing it with people who share those values. The ballroom was silent for a long moment. Then, from the back of the room, someone began to applaud. Then another. Within seconds, most of the room was clapping. And Olivia saw several people approaching with business cards. Clearly interested in investment opportunities, Carolyn had disappeared, and Thomas Westbrook stood red-faced near the exit. Owen appeared at their side, grinning widely. "Sir, I have 5 potential investors who want to meet with you Monday morning. They said they've been looking for someone with integrity in this industry." Julian squeezed Olivia's hand. "See? Sometimes standing up for what matters actually works out." 3 months later, Olivia stood in Julian's penthouse apartment, adjusting his tie before the official launch of Sterling Luxury Retail. The new division had exceeded all projections, thanks in part to a group of investors who valued Julian's authentic approach to business. "Is this okay?" she asked, stepping back to admire her work. Julian pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her waist. "Not yet. Tighten it a little more," Olivia laughed, reaching up to adjust the knot. "You say that every time now, 'cause I love having you this close." He kissed her softly. "Besides, you're much better at this than I am. You're getting better. Last week you almost managed a proper Windsor knot. It almost doesn't count." Olivia's phone buzzed with a message. She glanced at it and smiled. "Owen says the car is ready. We should go. One more thing." Julian pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Olivia's heart stopped. "Julian, I know it's fast. I know people will say we're crazy. But I also know that from the moment you walked into my office and weren't afraid to tell me my tie was crooked, my life changed." He opened the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring with a vintage setting. "I don't want to spend another day without knowing you're mine. Olivia Carter, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Olivia's face as she nodded. "Yes, yes, absolutely yes." Julian slipped the ring on her finger, then kissed her with a passion that made her dizzy. When they finally broke apart, both laughing and crying, Olivia rested her head against his chest. "Your tie is crooked again," she murmured. "Good," Julian said, smiling against her hair. "That means you'll have to fix it. For the rest of our lives, that's the plan." As they rode to the launch event, Olivia reflected on how far they had both come. She had started as a consultant hired to fix a crooked tie and ended up finding a partner who valued her for who she was. It's not just what she could do for his image. Julian had learned that true success meant building a life with someone who saw past the CEO to the man underneath. The launch was a spectacular success. Sterling Luxury Retail's first flagship store was packed with fashion industry leaders, celebrities, and the investors who had believed in Julian's vision. As Olivia watched him give his speech, confident and authentic, she felt a surge of pride. "He's different now," Owen said, appearing at her elbow. "Happier. More himself." "That's your doing." "He was always himself," Olivia replied. "He just needed someone to remind him it was okay to show it." After the event, as they returned to Julian's penthouse, he pulled her onto the balcony overlooking the city. The lights of Chicago stretched out before them, full of possibility. "Have I told you today that I love you?" Julian asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "At least 5 times. But I never get tired of hearing it. Good, because I plan to say it every day for the rest of our lives." He kissed the top of her head. "Thank you, Olivia." "For what?" "For seeing me. For not being afraid to fix my tie even when I was being impossible. For choosing me even when it was complicated." Olivia turned in his arms to face him. "Thank you for letting me in. For trusting me with more than just your wardrobe. For loving all of me, not just the professional version." "Always," Julian promised as they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms with the city sparkling below them. Olivia realized that sometimes the best things in life start with the smallest moments. A crooked tie. An honest critique. A willingness to take a risk on something real. She had gone to Sterling Enterprises looking for a job and found a partner. Love. A future she never could have imagined. And it all began because she wasn't afraid to step close and adjust what needed fixing. "Your tie is perfect now," she whispered. Julian smiled, that smile reserved just for her. so is everything else. And as he kissed her beneath the stars, with their entire future stretching out before them, Olivia knew he was right. They had found their perfect fit, and nothing would ever pull them apart. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this story. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to click like. Share this story with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more meaningful stories.